Hello, hello, good evening. It's Monica from Life is Art, and it's Wednesday. Let's create. We are going to be working on a card this evening, and I'm calling it Here Fishy Fishy, because I don't know what kind of card we would call it. It's a bit of a fun fold, and I'm using a different video tool right now, so hopefully everything comes through okay. I know I have issues with this particular one on occasion, so hopefully all is well. And so we're going to be using the Waterside Retreat Designer Series paper for this, as well as some vellum, and we're going to be using the June stamp of the month, which unfortunately has gone out of stock. That's how popular the Wild Bunch stamp set was. So if you weren't able to snag yourself a copy, that's too bad. I'm so sad. Because it's a really fun one. So good to keep in mind that those products of the month are only available while supplies last. So, but we are going to use one of the sentiments from that stamp set on our card this evening. We're going to be starting out with a piece of basic white cardstock that has been cut to 8.5 by 5.5. And we're going to do some quick scoring using our Simply Scored board, and we're going to score along our 8.5 inch side at 1 inch, and then at 5 1/4. So 1 inch and 5 1/4. So this is just simply a fun fold card. It's not a hard fold. There's nothing too tricky about it in terms of folding, but we're going to have a little bit of fun with a technique. So I'm going to fold on both of those score lines with the bump side to the inside, and you're going to think that this looks somewhat like a gatefold card that's been offset, and you would be correct. But we're going to do a little bit of overlapping with what we do to decorate it. So currently this is what we have. It kind of looks a bit like a matchbook, just really longish. This is on this horizontal, if it was a horizontal. But we're doing this on the vertical. So we've got our 1 inch piece, and then the remainder there, which would be 3 1/4, if we can do our math correctly. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. If you're watching later on replay, then drop a comment so I know you stopped by. I see my mom is here. Good evening, Mom. So we're going to set this aside for just a couple of minutes, and we're going to work on the embellishment for this page, or for this card. And so I've gone ahead and I've cut a strip of Misty Moonlight that is 2.5 inches by 5.5 inches. And what we're going to do with that is this is going to attach here on the left side of our card. And so then it's going to overlap the right side by quite a bit. And so we're going to decorate this, and we're going to use a fun technique that my upline, Jennifer, did in one of her workshops recently. So kudos to Jennifer for coming up with this kind of fun idea, and it's a bit of layering. So one of the designer series papers for this Waterside Retreat is this one. It has beautiful water on one side and lovely little fishies on the other. And so we're going to use both sides of this. But to get started, we're going to cut, you can see here I've already started to get a little bit ahead. We're going to cut some of the wave pattern on here. So all we're going to do is we're just going to kind of eyeball and see where there's a good line of waves, and then you can see I'm just kind of going above that dark line there, and I'm going to follow it as far as I can across, and then I'll just switch to this lighter one here and just kind of create that fun little wave design. And then what we're going to do with that is we're going to bring in some Misty Moonlight ink, and we're going to ink just the top edge of that wave just to give it a little bit more presence. And we're going to repeat that a few times. So let's go again. Let's find a nice wave that's traveling across. Let's go with this one here. Maybe we'll start here and we'll go down. Then we'll pick up this wave and we'll just follow it all the way across. So we're fussy cutting, and I am leaving a little bit of space above that wave because remember, we're going to ink it anyway. So there we go. So there's another one. Let's ink our edges like so. And maybe we'll do 2 more just in case. I don't know if we'll need all of these because like I said, I've already done some ahead of time. But we'll do a couple more just so we get the idea. But because we're now cutting this apart, we can have the opportunity to get a little bit layery. Not Larry, but layery. I'm not just saying Larry weirdly. And so what that means is we can, we'll do one more. Let's follow that one across. And then we're going to, in between the layers of waves, we're going to add some vellum for even more texture because we're making this the focal point on our card. So we can go ahead and add as much as we want to create that effect. Okay, I'm going to stop there, but what I am going to do is I'm just going to trim off the top edge here, and I'm going to stick it onto my card. I can close this up. I'm going to adhere this to my card like so. And so what it means is we're going to start adding these layers from the top edge and work our way down to the bottom. Now I'm going to kind of turn it sideways to help me see where my edges are. If we need to at the end, we might have to just kind of follow the edges and do a little bit of trimming with our scissors, but that's A-okay. Okay, then we're going to have a piece of vellum that has also been cut to that 2.5 inch width, and you can see I've been tearing down here, but we want to kind of tear in little swoopies, so it looks kind of like the foamy bit on the water. Foam on the water. I think that's actually called smoke on the water, but we're going to call it foam for today. And we can go ahead and adhere that to our card like so, layering it on top. We're not adding any extra stuff to this. We're just putting it on as it is. And then we will come in with our next layer. We can even use liquid glue for this. And I'm going to keep my adhesive down near the bottom of each of these layers. We want to overlap it enough so that we cover up any gap in that wave pattern. Took me a minute. Don't mind me, that's just my brain doing its thing. So we're going to do some more tearing across there. We're going to add a little bit of adhesive. And if you want, you can even add a little bit of dimensionals in between these layers to make it oomph up a little bit. But because I'm only putting adhesive at the bottom, that does actually give my my paper an opportunity to lift. Okay, so we're kind of going with that idea. And then let's tear ourselves another bit of vellum like so. Add it on. And I think it really creates a fun texture on the water, having those layers of vellum in between. There we go. Adding that. Because they're cut right out of the paper, one below the other. You know, they do line up. You just kind of adjust it so it overlaps a tiny little bit. And then keep layering. There we go. And another one. And I think the stiffness of the vellum, because this vellum has a nice thickness to it, that also helps give everything a little bit of lift. Okay, so now we can jump over here to the ones that I have set aside. We'll add another little bit of vellum, rippity-doo-dah. So it's important to start out with both your vellum and your pattern paper cut to the width that you want, or as close to the width that you want. So that makes it a little bit easier to line things up. Let's grab another one. And I don't think I added ink to that very top one, so we'll ink that once we're all done. Let's grab another piece of vellum. There we go. And I think we're kind of down near the bottom here. So we'll add this piece. Will it reach? Will it reach? Almost, maybe. I don't want to make it too crooked. You know what? I'm gonna switch it out for a bigger piece. Just add my adhesive on there. There we go. Why fight it? Just get a bigger piece. There we go. Okay. So once we've got that done and all layered up and a little bit wet, because it's got adhesive on it, we can trim any little bits that we want to trim. So of course here at the bottom we've got that bit of overhang that we can trim off. If we want to tidy up any of the edges, these are looking actually pretty good. I think I'm going to leave them. And then we were going to add that little bit of ink just to the top there. And looks good. Okay, so we can bring in our card base, and I'm going to actually add my adhesive right onto the edge of this flap here, all the way along, and to this edge of this panel. Just one strip. And what that will do is, when I fold this all back up, I can remove the backing off the edge of that panel and off the edge of this panel, and I'm going to use my mat to help me and line myself up 1/2 inch in from the edge. So if I line myself up on the mat and I come 1/2 inch in and line that up, then that should stick down nice and straight. You got to be careful which direction you squish it down, because we've got all those lovely layers. Doesn't that look pretty? I like how that turned out. Okay, now we're going to add, you know what, I'm going to open this up because I'm using the thick cardstock and it's fighting me. And I have gone ahead and I have fussy cut out some of the fish from the designer series paper. And so we've got all these fun little fishies here. Can you see those? And so we're going to add a little bit of ink to these as well, just to make them stand out from all those delicious waves that we created. Let's bring this closer. So we'll just add just the tiniest little bit of inking around the edges, and when you get to these little fins, you gotta kind of be creative with how you get around them. Tight spaces and all. Sometimes you just gotta bend them one way or the other. There we go. Let's ink all of these. This is the easiest way I know to catch some fish. Just fussy cut them off some designer series paper. I'm not much of a fisher person. Haven't been fishing in years and years and years, but I know lots of people who love fishing regularly, and so this is the card for them. Lends itself to being a masculine card quite nicely, and sometimes we need ideas for masculine cards. We're going to go all the way around that little circle there. If we don't get every single bit of the edge of these fish inked, it's okay. It's okay. We're just adding a little bit to help them stand out. And some of these little fish are actually going to be tucked in amongst those waves, and so you won't see parts of them anyway. Last one. Getting inky with the Misty Moonlight. Who likes to go fishing? Pop a comment in the comments. Or do you know somebody who does the fishing? I know a few of you do fishing or have people in your family that like to go fishing. I went fishing as a kid, but that's about it. Alrighty, now we can go ahead and pop these little guys in here. Maybe before I stick them in, I'll kind of get an eye on where I want them. So I want them to kind of hang out amongst the waves. So I'm going to do a little bit of tucking. Some in front, some behind. Some can be diving in. Maybe this one will be coming up. Let's see, this one can be kind of over there. This little guy looks like he's gonna dive down in. And then our last one, I think we'll have him just kind of skimming along. There we go. All right, and then again, we could add some dimensionals with these guys. You know what? Maybe I will. Let me grab my little guys and just pop a dimensional on there. Seems like an easy way of sticking them in. Part of them is going to get tucked anyway. So tuck that guy in there. And you know what? Since they're already kind of stuck in, I'm just going to stick the dimensional on them. I'm not even going to take them back out if I don't have to. Now, wouldn't it be great if you were fishing and you saw this many fish all in a row? That would be ideal. It doesn't happen that way, so I assume. Usually have to work a little harder. All right, last one. There we go. Okay, didn't need that after all. All right, now that we've got that on there, we're going to add a little bit more design on here on this flap. And to do that, we're going to add just a strip of the Misty Moonlight, and we might as well add some ink to it because, you know, we started inking. We're just going to keep right on inking. So this is a 1/2 inch by 5.5. Nothing too dramatic about that. Just add a little ink, and I'm going to stick this right on the edge of this flap. And partly what this piece is going to do is it's going to give me some spacing for my next piece. That's about the size of it. Literally. I needed a 1/2 inch spacer, so I thought, let's just make it a little bit simpler, and we'll just use the cardstock to make sure we can line everything up. So there's our little 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to pull in the wood grain that's part of this designer series paper, and add a little ink on here. This is a nice smoky slate, I think, color on this wood grain. The back side are the lovely little buoys. This is a fun paper pack because, especially for people who live where I live in Canada, most of our beachy waterside type stuff is not sand dunes and palm trees, right? We live by the Great Lakes or the freshwater lakes, by cottages, or, you know, that kind of thing. So there's no palm trees. So this one that's more fish and boats and bicycles and buoys and that kind of thing, Muskoka chairs, it really works. Okay, now I want this. Oh, actually, yeah, we're going to layer that up. I'm going to actually cover part of that up. I didn't want quite that much space, but that's okay. There we go. And now that I've taken a look at it, I also want to add some ink on this outside edge. Just a smidge. And I don't think I did the bottom of this. Now, I also didn't do this edge, but that's okay. We'll let it blend. Let it blend in, fade in. And so there we go. And then I want to add our sentiment. And I was trying to decide whether I was going to add my sentiment on the front or I was going to add it on the inside. So I'm going to be using Happy Birthday. And I'm thinking, just because we've got so much going on already on the front, I'm going to add it on the inside. And we're going to use the Misty Moonlight to do it. So there's our Misty Moonlight. I thought this would make a nice happy birthday card, or really any occasion. So let's stamp our happy birthday right there. We could add some other paper in there if we wanted, but this gives us lots of room to write a message and to add signatures and all that. So even if you were signing for a group, it's nice to have a little extra space. But let's come back around to the front, and I'm going to be using the Dewdrop Embellishments. These are in clear, Old Olive, and Secret Sea, and I'm thinking the Secret Sea is going to add just a nice little pop of deep blue color on here. So oops, that one just jumped right off. It said, pick me, pick me. So let's add a couple there, almost like little water droplets splashing out of the water. And let's add one up here like that. And then maybe a little bit there. And there. So there we go. We've got some nice little bubbles of bubbly water coming up with all those fun fish. And then we've got this lovely little overlap hiding our happy birthday on the inside. Nice and clean. I like how that turned out. And I think that is super cute and a great way to give a happy birthday to somebody who loves to fish. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing Here Fishy Fishy come together, and if you feel like creating a card in this style, be sure to snap some photos of it, pop it in the comments where I post the pictures of my card, and then we can all see and be inspired by your artwork as well. Have a wonderful rest of your evening and a lovely end to your week. All right, we'll see you soon. Toodaloo. Bye.